Hi, I'm Travis Monson with my channel Once Upon a Board Game, and today I want to teach you how to play the game Cities. This is a game that just came out this year. I don't remember if it was first released at Gen Con, the big convention in Indianapolis, or if it came out before then. It doesn't really matter. But it came out this year from a pair of designers that have never worked together before. Phil Walker Harding and Steve Finn. And these two guys, first of all, Phil Walker Harding is one of my all-time favorite designers. If you've ever played games like Sushi Go or Barren Park, or I could go on and on other ones that he's done, but I see his name on a box and I'm interested. And he teamed up with a guy named Dr. Steve Finn, and he's there's a lot of gamers that kind of refer to him as the king of the filler. And a filler is in a short game that doesn't take a whole lot of time, kind of fills in the time gaps in your game nights between some of the bigger, heavier games that you play. But these two guys have never teamed up before, and they did, and I think they made something pretty special with Cities. It's a really quick game, and it's got a lot of tactics and great decisions, and let me show you how it works. Okay, once again, I'm going to be teaching how to play Cities and showing how this works. All right. So I'm going to illustrate the setup for 3 players. This goes up to 4 players. First and foremost, you'll notice that the game comes with multiple different of these city tiles. Each one has different scoring objectives, so there's a lot of variety in how you can play. So you choose whichever one you want to use, and that would get inserted at the top of the board. It says for your first game to use either Rio or New York. So I'll just leave it there. Then you see there's a deck of scoring objective cards. You just shuffle it, put it here, a nice little cell phone, and you lay them out. You put one face up on each of these spaces. And if you look, there's a question mark. Anytime you see the question mark, it means you leave the things face down and hidden so the players don't know what they're going to be getting. So one card would be face down, the other ones would be face up. Again, there's a bunch of building tiles. You just shuffle them all together, make a couple of stacks, put them face up in these first 3 spaces, and there's a question mark, so you put one face down on that space. These are building features, or like the landscape feature tiles. There's a whole bunch. It says shuffle them all up, make a couple of stacks. You can leave them in a big pile, whatever's easiest. And then you put a couple more or less. So you put 2 on this first spot. 2 different land or monument tiles. Then you put 1 on each of these spots, because I didn't shuffle these very well. And then 1 face up and 1 face down over here. So 1 face up and then 1 you don't know. And then of course down here, there's the building tiles. There's a whole bunch of building tiles. There's 4 different colors, and there's 25 of each in the bag. So it says put 4 in the first spot and 3 in the next spot. So I just was drawn randomly here. So put 4 there, and 3 here, and 3 here. And here, you see there's question mark. So you don't actually put them there. The person who goes in this space will draw 2, so they're not going to know what they are. If they were there, they would already know what it was. So you will wait until they take that action and they would draw. Okay, so that's how you set up the board. And then you notice these are the regular building tiles, and then the starting building tiles have a gray background. So you see the difference. So you take the starting building tiles and you just kind of lay them out. They're all different. Then you choose a start. It just says randomly choose a start player. Let's just say that blue ended up getting the start player. So blue would get the little star to show he's the start player. And then starting with the last person in turn order. So if we go clockwise, it would be blue, yellow, purple. So purple would go last. So starting with the last player, they choose which one they want to start with. So let's just say, I don't know, purple maybe wants this one. And then it would go in counterclockwise order. So then yellow would pick one, maybe yellow wants this one, and then blue says, well, I'll start with this tile. Whatever, just as a for example. And then whatever you don't use, you just set it aside. Okay? Every player gets a little player aid card. It kind of summarizes how things work and how things score. Okay? And then everybody gets the 4 workers and the score mark you can just put, kind of by the 0 space on the score track. And you see they've got 3 of these little ring markers. This is how you would track that you've met and how you're going to score different achievement objectives up on the city tile. So you could score up to each objective once. That's why you got 3 different rings. Okay? And you get 4 workers. There are 8 workers per player color. Okay? Because in a 2-player game, you use all 8. Now, I'll talk about the 2-player variation at the end. Basically, in the 2-player game, you just do 2 of everything per turn. But I'll come back to that. So right now we would be set up to start the game. Okay, so basically a turn. I guess before I talk about turns, I will mention again, this talks about scoring at the end of the game. And on the backside, there's a little reminder of the breakdown of these little feature tiles. You see that there's 4 different types for both the green and the blue ones. And you see how many there are of each type, so how rare some of them are. I'm just gonna set these cards aside for now. There's not a lot of table space here, so anyway. Like I said, on your turn, you take one of your workers and you put them somewhere on the board. Basically, a round is gonna consist of each player claiming 1 card, 1 building tile, 1 set of feature tiles, and 1 set of buildings. So on your turn, you choose what you want. So this is kind of the crux of the game, like what's most important to you at the moment. You can see at the start of each game, there are certain objectives based on whatever city you're playing. Like New York, of course, with Central Park in New York wants to have a park area of at least 7 spaces. So you want to have a bunch of contiguous parks in your city. They also want to have 2 horizontal or 2 vertical lines of 6 building spaces. Okay, so obviously, all the buildings down in Manhattan. And then obviously they want, all the skyscrapers. New York also wants 4 buildings that are at least 3 or more tall, stacked. Doesn't matter what color they are. For these, it doesn't matter. They just want, big rows of buildings and tall buildings and lots of park. Okay, so that's some of our objectives for New York. So you already have kind of an idea of what you're going for. But then also, each round, there's these scoring objective cards that come out. They give you different objectives. For instance, this one says, I get 6 points for every green building in my city that's exactly 4 pieces tall. Or maybe 4 points for every yellow building that's exactly 3 pieces tall, and so on. There's a whole deck of all kinds of different scoring objectives of things you're trying to do, right? So every turn, you are going to be able to claim a different objective, something else that you're going to be trying to fulfill in your city while you go, okay? So that's one piece of it. So each turn I'm going to claim another objective, and you may not even know what the objective is, right? But again, so everybody's going to get a chance to claim an objective. You're also going to get to claim a building tile. You may know what it is. You may not know what it is, right? You're going to get to claim feature tiles to add to your city, and you're going to get to claim building pieces to then make those buildings, okay? So again, each turn, starting with the start player, you choose where to go. And this is one of those things like, what do you value most? Like, maybe I really want that building tile because it's going to help me do X, Y, and Z. For instance, let's just say blue, right? So we see we want to have a big park space. Well, of all the things I can see, this is the only tile right now that has any parks. So maybe it says, you know what? This is my best chance right now that I can see of getting more parks towards meeting that objective. So maybe I want to take this tile. So blue would take the tile, put his worker to show that he's taken a tile, okay? And this is one thing you do at the start of each round. Once the start player has taken their first action, they put the star back here, because at the end of the round, basically the person who's come closest to or landed on this space is going to be the start player for the next turn. Okay, so now blue, anytime you take a tile, you add it to your city. And for now, I'm going to kind of scoot the board up just a little bit to have so we're going to cut off a little bit of New York City up there at the top, but just to have a little bit more room for these tiles. Okay, so again, whenever you take a tile, you add it to your city. This is the new one. And the rules are, it has to be fully adjacent. So it cannot be partial. That's not allowed. It has to be fully adjacent orthogonally. So diagonally adjacent, that's not allowed either. So it has to touch the side of a tile, right? So obviously, if I want to get a big park, maybe I want the 2 parks to be connected. So maybe I'll just do something like that, okay? The one other thing to keep in mind is you are constrained to a 3x3 grid of city tiles. So over the course of the game, my entire city is going to be 9 tiles. And that's what the game ends after the 8th round when you take your 9th tile. The 8 that you'll take plus the one you started with. That will end the game in that 8th and final round. So if I had already played a tile here, future tile placement, I could not go further wide because that's already 3 wide. I would have to go above or below, if that makes sense, okay? So again, you're constrained to a 3x3 grid for your city. So blue went there to take the city tile that had more parks, to try and get a park of at least 7 spaces. So you see 7 spaces, and you see in some of these things like the building, the rows of buildings of 6 spaces or more, you see each tile has 4 spaces on it. They have either park or building spaces or water spaces. Okay, and with the building spaces, there's spaces for each of the 4 different colors. You see the red, green, blue, and even some have yellow, right? So the spaces are the 4 spaces on each tile, okay? So blue took a tile. Now it comes over to yellow. Now it's yellow's turn. And yellow says, oh, what do I want to do? Who knows? I didn't think this, maybe I should have thought this through ahead of time. Maybe yellow's thinking, you know what? I can see there's multiple yellow buildings here, and I have a place to put yellow buildings. And oh, by the way, there's an objective that wants me to get buildings that are 3 pieces high. Maybe this is something that I can shoot for. So yellow says, you know what? I'm going to try and aim towards that objective. But one of these things, like if I take this tile, if I take this, I have to take the buildings and place them immediately. If they don't fit, I would lose them. You know, so I could stack the yellow and I could put a green one there, but the red would get lost. I would just forfeit because there's nowhere to put it, right? So that's not a very optimal turn. You know, that's not the best thing to do. So maybe what they're thinking is, before I get that, maybe I want to first claim that objective. You know, maybe I say, you know what? Before somebody else takes that, I want to say, you know what? I'm going to claim a new scoring objective. Yellow says, because I'm going to try and get those tall yellow buildings. So they put this and they set it up. And so once you take a scoring card, it's public knowledge. It remains face up for everyone to see. So people can see what you're going for. Okay. Now it comes to purple's turn. Purple says, oh, I don't know what the heck I want to do. You know, there's not very many green out there, so it doesn't make sense to go towards, you know, getting tall green buildings. Maybe they say, you know what? Oh, what the heck? And if you remember, the sailboat is the most common. This feature here, the sailboat, is the most common of all the water features, so that's not super attractive. Maybe green just said, or purple says, you know what? Maybe I will. Oh, I don't even know what they want to do. They say, I will take maybe this tile right here. I'll take another building tile. Okay, and maybe they say I'll put it like this. I'll leave my chance of expanding my park upward. Maybe I'll try and get a bigger lake as well. So maybe I'll do something like that. So that's what purple did for their turn. Okay, now it's back to blue. It's blue's turn again. Now here's one of these things. You see that blue already went in the row of buildings. Okay, so for this round, blue can no longer take a building tile. They have to either take buildings or feature tiles or scoring objective. So basically, with your 4 pieces, you're going to put 1 in each area each round. You have to do each different thing. Okay, so again, you choose the order of what seems more important to you at the time. Okay, well, blue says, oh, I don't even know. Let's see. They're looking at tall green buildings. There's no real tall, there's not a lot of buildings here. Maybe they say, you know what? Maybe I'll take my chances. Maybe this will be a better scoring card. So they'll just draw blind. And these might not be the smartest moves. I'm just illustrating some of the things to do. So they've turned this over and they say, oh, wow. They say, I'm going to score 1 victory point for every 2 park spaces in my largest park. And I say, oh, wow. This really goes hand in hand with what we're trying to do. I'm trying to build a big park anyway for New York. So this is perfect. If I get a big park, I can meet this objective and score more points. So blue's really happy with that turn. Comes back to yellow. Yellow already took a scoring objective, so now they have to take either a building tile or a feature or buildings. And again, they really want to get these 2 yellow, but there's no place to put a red. So they don't want to forfeit that red building. So they say, you know what? This doesn't let me take red, so maybe they'll take their chances that this does. So they'll say, I will draw this blind building tile. And they say, oh, great, it does have a red building. And they're thinking also, I'm also trying to score a large park in New York. So maybe they'll put the buildings like that. So they have the 2 park spaces connected. And then it's back to purple's turn. Purple says, oh, what am I doing? Purple says, Purple says, I don't want to go last next round again. So I'm going to become the start player. So they say, I will take the start player, and they're going to just draw 2 buildings blind out of the bag. So they say, I get 2 red buildings. Okay, so be it. I've only got 1 space that allows red buildings, so they will just stack that up. Again, each stack of buildings can be 4 tall. That's the limit. Okay, anything excess they would have to lose or put elsewhere. Okay, it comes back to blue. Blue has already taken a card and a city tile, so now they have to take something else. So they say, I've got no place to put yellow, so these don't look very good to me. Purple already drew blind, so maybe I'll say, you know what? This is one of those feature tiles that allows me to make a building space wild so that I could build any color building there. So maybe that looks good. Blue says, that sounds good to me. I will take this and see what this is. This is a water tile. So Blue says, okay, I will put that in my water, the only place I can put it. And they've got either 2 red or 2 yellow spaces, two red or 2 blue spaces. There's roughly even amount of each. So let's just say, you know what, I'll just cover up one of those right there. Okay, now this is a wild. Now they can put any color building there for future turns. So that works out well for the blue player. It comes back to yellow. Yellow says, yes, thankfully they didn't take it. I really want those 2 yellow tiles because I'm trying to get tall yellow buildings. They say, I will take these, put their worker there, and they put these wherever they want. Of course, they want to try and get a yellow building that's 3 tall, so that works. And they'll just put a green and a red there. So they put those on in their city. Then it comes to the purple player. Purple has already taken buildings. They've already taken a tile. They have to either get features or they have to get a scoring objective. Once again, there's no green right now, but they say, you know what? I want to have at least 3 or more buildings that are 4 tall anyway. So maybe it would make sense to try and get green buildings that are that tall. Maybe hopefully on future rounds I can get more green. So maybe it would make sense to take this guy, hoping that maybe this will go hand in hand with a New York City objective. So they will take this scoring objective card. And then it goes to the blue player for their final action. Again, they've already taken a scoring objective. They've already taken a building tile. They've already taken their features. So now they have to take tiles. And now they say, okay, well, these are both exactly the same. It's a blue and a yellow and a red, so it doesn't really matter which one they take. So they'll just go here. And the yellow has to fit. That's the only place it can fit, right? On that place that they made wild. And they can put a blue one here and a red one here. Okay, so they'll do that, for instance. Okay, that's blue's final turn. Comes to yellow. They've already taken a card and a city tile and buildings, so now they have to take one of these. So this is one of those things where they could take these 2 monuments, and this would basically, they put their monuments in on empty city tiles, and each one would be worth 2 points. But right now, they've only got 1 empty city tile. So they would waste one of those if they took it. So they're thinking, well, do I want to let purple get it? Or do I want to just take something that's going to help me? And they say, well, I've already got a green tile there, but you know what? I'm going to try and, they'll just say, I'll be nice. I'll let you take it, purple. So they'll put a boat here in the water, and then purple, they'll say, okay, well, sure. I'll take those. I'll take these 2 tiles. They say, I've got a duplicate green spot. So maybe they'll do that. And then maybe they'll put, maybe they'll just put the other one right there. So they've got a couple of monuments. So now you see that all 3 players have taken from all 4 rows. So the round is over, okay? Well, I should back up. At the end of every single one of your turns, like this early in the game, it's not gonna matter. But at the end of every single one of your turns, you look, have I met those objectives yet? Okay? If you have, you can claim that you've scored, a certain objective. And again, you can claim multiple objectives on the same turn, but you can only claim each objective 1 time, okay? So I can't, claim first and second place for a single objective. It's each objective maximum of 1 time each, but you check that at the end of each one of your turns. Again, this early in the game, it's not gonna matter. That's why I hadn't said it before. But at this point, when everybody's taken all their turns, everything that's excess, you just get rid of. So the excess card that didn't get used goes away. The excess building tile and feature tile, those go away. The excess buildings, they go away. Everybody gets their workers all back. Yellow gets theirs. Purple gets theirs. Blue gets theirs. And then we reset for the next round. So again, we put out 3 face-up cards here. And 1 face down. We put 3 face-up building tiles here. And 1 face down. We put a pair of face-up feature tiles here. We put 1 face-up on each of these spaces. And we put 1 face-up and 1 face down here. And then here we get 4 building tiles. Ooh, lots of green. Here we put 3. Here we put 3. And there they would draw blind. I lost the lid. So these would go here like so. and then you would continue with the second round. And again, purple took the start player. Again, it's the person that's the closest to, if not already on that space. So in a 3-player game, maybe they took these 3 spots. So it'd be the person that's closest to it. If nobody actually goes on that spot, the person closest to it would get the star. Purple actually went on that spot, so they became the start player. So they go first this round. And again, the round is just like we did, 4 turns, take one of each different thing, and there's 8 total rounds. So you'll fill up the 8 remaining tiles with your start tile to get your 3x3 grid, and that's gonna end the game. Maybe I'll walk through maybe just one more round just to kind of illustrate, and then I'll maybe fast forward to what the game might look like to show how scoring works. Okay, so again, purple, they're looking, hey, you know what? I really want a whole bunch of tall green buildings, and there's 3. I really want to make sure I get those before somebody else snatches them, because everybody else is trying to get also tall buildings. So they say, maybe I want to grab this first and foremost before somebody else does. So they say I can make my red taller, so that's a size 3 red. So I want to get at least 4 buildings that are 3 or more tall. I've already got 2 that are 3 tall, so I'm already halfway towards that objective. So that's good. Purple's happy with that turn. And I'm already almost to the first one of this for 6 points for getting a size 4 green building. So purple's happy. Then it comes to blue, and blue says, you know what? I really want to push hard on that park. I really want a big park for my scoring objective. Plus I want to get the big park for New York. So they want to take one of these, and they're thinking right now, these are both relatively the same. I've already got 2 different blue building spaces, so I don't need more blue. Maybe I'll take this one with an additional yellow and green. So blue says, I'll take this tile. And they're going to put it in such a way that maybe they expand their water so they have a bigger lake, and they're going to make a bigger park. So they're going to do something like this, okay? Then it comes over to the red player. And red, they're looking at trying to get buildings that are yellow, that are tall. Oh, what does yellow want to do? Yellow says, see, this is one of those things that I want to point this out. So at the end of the game, of course, you're going to score based on how well you do on the objectives. But also, every single scoring objective card that you take is going to score individually. So what I score for this card is going to be, I can use the same pieces to score this that I do to score this card. So just because of the fact that I use the pieces towards meeting this objective does not mean that I can't also use them for this. But this is one of those things where they're at odds. This one wants the buildings exactly 2 pieces tall. This wants them exactly 3 pieces tall. So these goals are kind of at odds with each other. If they were if these were written such as maybe 2 or taller or 3 or taller, these would go hand in hand and they would both work perfectly together. I could score the same buildings for both cards, right? I just want to show that's an example of what you could do. But again, this wants them exactly 2, exactly 3. So this doesn't make much sense for the yellow player. So they're thinking, oh, maybe instead of that, maybe I will, I'm going to try and also push towards getting this big park. So yellow says, I really want that other park piece. So they're going to do something similar. They will do it over here where they can get, a bigger lake over here and their park like that. Then it comes back to purple. Purple says, oh, what do I want to do? I need some more places to build. This just gives me a whole lot of water. Oh, over here, I don't know what it is. Up here, I get 1 point for every green building that's just exactly 1 piece tall. Well, he's trying to get tall green buildings, so that really doesn't work for him. He also wants tall blue buildings, and then who knows what that one is. He's kind of thinking, he says, you know what, I'll take my chances. Let me see what this scoring objective is. Hopefully this will work for me. And he says, oh, I'm going to score 1 point for every 2 water spaces in my largest water area. So kind of the same thing as this. So basically you add up your biggest lake and divide the number of spaces in half. That's how many points you get. Same thing with my blue player's park card. So he's like, oh, that's great. I've already got a decent sized lake. That works hand in hand. That's a good thing to aim for. So they're happy with that. Comes back to blue. Blue says, okay, I've already taken a tile. Now I need to take something else. They're thinking, oh, okay. They don't really have any objective for buildings per se, other than just trying to get building spaces in a row and tall buildings. So maybe blue says, you know what, I will, they're eyeing this of buildings of exactly 1 tall for green. So maybe they're thinking, you know what, I've got a green space. Maybe I'll try that. So they'll put a green building over there. They'll put a blue building there. They'll put a yellow building over here. So they'll just kind of start filling up some of their spaces like that. Comes back to yellow. Yellow says, okay, I've already taken a tile, so I have to take something else this time. Oh, how about, yellow says, I will, you know what? I will take this. This is a different water feature. This is actually the rarest of all the water features. If you look, there's only 3 of this lighthouse water feature in the game. So they're saying, oh, I'll take that. Because ideally you want to get sets of unique water features in a given lake, you know? And same thing, you want unique park features in a given park. And that's, I'll get to that with the scoring at the end. But then finally, they've got this, they can make any building space wild. Well, I've got 3 green spaces, so I might as well make one of those where I can build any color. So yellow's happy with that. Comes to purple. Purple says, okay, I've already taken a card. I've already taken building pieces themselves. So they're thinking, you know what? I want a big lake. This looks really good to me. This is a whole lot of water. Maybe I'll take this one. So they'll do something like this. Maybe they'll put it so they're expanding a big lake. Okay, so they're happy with that piece, or with that move. Then blue says, I have to either take feature tiles or I have to take a scoring objective. Scoring objective, they say, you know what the heck? I've already got one. I've already got a green size 1 building. Maybe I'll just try and get more green size 1 buildings. So they'll take that scoring objective. Yellow says, well, I really don't like that one. I don't have any blue buildings yet. Do I take that or do I take building tiles themselves? They say, well, I might as well take building tiles. Sure, why not? So they take these building tiles. So they want buildings that are exactly 3 pieces high for yellow. So they just scored 4 points, because they already have met this once. And they'll just go ahead and put that there. They'll put that there towards what possible future goals they may get. Comes back to purple. Purple says, okay, I've already taken those. I have to take features. So you know what? Why don't I take, when you look at the park features, the little merry-go-round, the carousel is the second rarest. So they say, you know what? I'll take that. And then I'll see what else I can get. So they only have 1 park space to put that in, so they'll put it there. And this, oh, bummer. This is one of those, oh, shoot. So they have no other park space to put it in, so they would just forfeit that additional feature tile. So they're a little bummed about that. Then it comes for blue's final turn. Again, they've already taken everything else. They have to take a feature tile. They say, you know what? I don't have one of these yet. I've already got the rare lighthouse. Let me take that. That's already 2 different features in my same lake. So they're thinking maybe I want to expand my lake over there a little bit to get more in that lake to make it worth more points. And then yellow says, okay, I have to take one of these cards. They say, well, this is directly at odds with this one. So maybe they'll just try this and try and get some tall blue buildings as well. All right, so they'll take that. So once again, everybody has taken from all 4 things, so the round is over. So excess pieces are all discarded. Again, I should have, after purple's first turn, that should have gone there. And again, nobody actually went on that space. So this is what I was talking about. When nobody actually goes on the space to take the start player tile, whoever is closest to it. So yellow would get the start player for the next turn, for the next round, rather. So everybody takes their pieces back. And then you would reset for another round. It's really easy to know how far you are in the game because there's the exact right number of tiles and the building tiles and the feature tiles to fill out the board for the whole game. Okay, I think maybe the cards are also the same. I can't remember how many cards are in the deck. So you can see quickly, and plus you'll see at a glance how close you are to filling in your 3x3 grid. So that's how it goes. I'm gonna skip forward now to maybe show what the board might look like at the end of the game, and then I'll talk through how scoring works. Okay, so I fast forward a little bit. I didn't play the full game. I just kind of set out some tiles. So hopefully this is kind of a good representation of what it may look like. But you see that each city is constrained into a 3x3 grid of the 3 tiles, three wide and 3 tall. And you see that on the last turn, everybody put their workers on each of the 4 rows. So after the 8th round, the game would be over and you move into final scoring. Okay, so a couple of things. Each player aid, in addition to on the back having a breakdown of how common the different types of feature tiles are, on the other side it has a final score reference. And I'll just read it. It says so that you calculate your score as follows, right? First of all, the city achievement board, then your water and parks, they score the same way. So what you do is for each area of orthogonally adjacent, again, orthogonally is touching a side, not touching diagonally. So each orthogonally connected park and lake, you score either 1, 3, 6, or 10 points for 1, 2, 3, or 4 unique different of those feature tiles. Okay? So each area can only score one set. So even if you have, it doesn't make sense to put a duplicate tile in the same area because it won't score. And then any of those monument tiles are 2 points apiece. And then of course you'll score points for all of the cards that you collected, the objective cards that you took over the course of the game. So just as a for example, I just grabbed this from above. Let's just say that over the course of the game, this was how the different achievements happened based on the city objectives. So you see, blue, they got their big park of at least 7 spaces. Their park is 2, 4, 6, 8 spaces big. So they were able to do that. This purple player, their park was only 2, 4, 6 spaces big. So they didn't quite do it. And same thing with green, or yellow rather. They have a size 6 park and a size 5 park. They didn't get it. So blue would score those 5 points. And then the rows of 6 building spaces, with or without buildings on them, you see that they all have it. They have the 2 full rows of building spaces, whether they have buildings on them or not. And so they all would score it, but maybe purple got it first. So purple got those 6 points, and then yellow got the 4 points for coming in second for that, and then blue just got 2 points for coming in third on that objective. And then again, having 4 buildings that are either 3 tall or taller, the blue players got 4. This player's got 4, and again, I didn't set up the whole thing, but let's just say that they all 3 had it, but maybe yellow did it first. So yellow scores the 7 points, so they'd go to 11. Blue would get 5 more points, they'd go to 12, and purple would get 3 points, so they'd go up to 9. That's how this city tile would work. And again, each city is different. Rio would have totally different objectives and maybe different scoring amounts. So you'll score that, will be the first thing that you look at. And then, like it says, you score each park and each lake. So looking at this park, so you see I've got a continuous orthogonally adjacent spaces of park, and I have all 4 different feature tiles. And if you see, for having 4 different features, I get 10 points. So this park is worth 10 points for the blue player. So from 12, they go to 22. And then here's a little park as well. They only have 1 feature tile. For 1 feature tile in a park, you score 1 point. So they just get 1 more point. And they had no other parks. You do the same kind of thing for lakes. So here's a lake. I've got 2 different tiles. So for 2 different features, you score 3 points. 1, 2, 3. So basically you get 1 point, then 2 more points, then 3 more points, then 4 more points. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, depending on how many features you have. Here's another lake for this blue player. There's only 1 unique feature tile. They just get 1 point. And then they had a monument tile here and here. Those are worth 2 points each, so that's 4 more points. 1, 2, 3, 4. That kind of thing, right? And then you look at all their cards. And again, these are the objective cards that we would have taken over the course of the game. And the first one, you remember, this is the one that I took in the first or second round, where I score 1 point for every 2 spaces in my largest park. So I count the number of spaces and divide it in half, and of course you round down. So I've got 2, 4, 6, 8 spaces. So that scores me 4 points. So this card is worth 4 points. 1, 2, 3, 4. It just so happens there's 2 of that card in the deck, and the blue player, they were start player that round, and they got that duplicate card. So they can score the same objective again and score 4 more points for that. So that was good for them. This one says, for instance, score 1 point for every green building that is exactly 1 piece tall. So you see I've got 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. So that's 4 points. 1, 2, 3, 4. This one says score 1 point for every yellow building that's exactly 1 piece tall. Well, I've got 1 here and here, but this one was part of meeting my objective of having tall buildings for New York. So I only get 2 points for those 2 that are just 1 tall. And then this says score 2 points for every set of 1 of each color building. Doesn't matter how tall they are. So if I look, what's my fewest? I've got 2 red, I've got 3 blue, I've got 3 yellow, I've got 4 green. So red is my limiting factor. So I've got 2 complete sets of all 4 colors. So 2 sets times 2 points each, I get 4 points. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then this card, I get 2 points for every red building that's exactly 2 spaces tall. This guy is two spaces tall. I get 2 points. I'm at 51 now. This one says 2 points for any color building that's exactly 3 pieces tall. And I've got 1 here and one here, and here, and here. So I've got 4 that are exactly 3 pieces tall. So that's 2 points times 4 buildings, 8 points. So 1 plus 8 is 9. And then this last card says I get 1 point for every, it doesn't matter the color, but it's exactly 2 pieces tall. I just had a little blue size 2 building here and a red size 2 building here. So I would get 2 buildings times 1 point each, that's 2 more points, you know? So they would have ended up with what? 50 plus 11, 61 points. And then of course, you know, I didn't grab all the cards for the other players, but you remember seeing the similar card that I took for the purple player early on. Their biggest lake was what? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 spaces big. So they would divide the 11 in half, 5 and a half round down. They get 5 points for this card. So the purple player would get 5 more points for that. This one would have given them 6 points for every green building size 4. They had a couple of those. So that's 12 points for those 2 tall buildings. So 14 and 12 would be 26. And so on. I didn't even score their, you know, like just as another, for example, their biggest parks. You see, this is all one park. It's all connected contiguously. There's 3 different features. So for 3 features, they get the 1 plus 2 plus 3 points. So they get 6 points for that park. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then for this lake, they had all 4 unique features. Okay, so that's 10 points for that one. So 32 to 42. And then here's a lone park down here with just 1 feature in it. That's just 1 point. And you get the gist. I won't bother to score the yellow players as well. But that's it. So at the end of the game, after 8 rounds and you filled up your grid, then you're going to score based on your city objectives, how well you did for those, as well as score for the different features you have in each one of your lakes and each one of your parks in your city. If you have any of those monument tiles, you score those. And then how well did you do on all of your objective cards? Score all that, and the highest score wins. If there is a tie, I did consult the rule book. The tiebreaker, if the scores are tied, it's whoever scored more points from their objective cards would be the winner in a tiebreaker. Okay, before I end the video, I want to just show you the differences for a 2-player game. Okay, so first of all, each player gets all 8 of their pieces, not just 4. They get all 8 of their little workers. You do everything else is the same. You know, you'll take all the tiles. You'll do a little draft in reverse player order. So whoever's going to go last. So if blue's the start player, purple would have gotten to choose first. You know, their start tile, all that kind of stuff. And then one other thing you'll do is with the city objective tiles, you'll notice you take the pieces from one of the player colors that's not being used, and you cover up the middle space. So basically, in a 2-player game, you can either only get the first or the 3rd place points. Okay, the other ones are not available for a 2-player game. Okay, so that's how you would. I mean, the setup. That's the only difference in actually setting it up. Getting 8 pieces instead of 4 and covering up the middle one. Otherwise, you set up the board the same way. And the main difference is that in a 2-player game, every round of the game, you do twice as much. So instead of an 8-round game where you take 1 of everything each round, it's a 4-round game and you take 2 of everything each turn. For example, and I'm not even going to think this through, I'm just going to illustrate. Blue, let's say blue's the start player. They go first. They say, I'm going to go for that big park. They take a park tile. They do something like that. They put it into play. And then again, after the first turn, that goes back to for whoever's going to be the start player for the next round. Purple's turn. They say, oh, you know what? I'm also going to go for a park, and I want to deny you the chance of scoring those points. They go there. Comes back to blue. They say, okay, well, screw you. I'm not going to let you get more parks. Of course, they play friendly. And they would go here. So here's the difference. You see blue, they already went there, and they went there again. That's twice. But you can do that in a 2-player game. In a 2-player game, you get to do 2 of every action. So purple's like, oh, you suck. Well, forget it. Maybe they'll come down here, and they'll take, you know, this park tile. Then it comes back to blue. They say, okay, well, I want this objective. Then it comes back to purple. They say, okay, well, I want a bigger lake. They do something like this. And then it comes back to blue. They say, okay, well, maybe I want these buildings here. They say, I'll put a yellow and some blues and a red. And then purple says, okay, well, I want, you know, I don't know, maybe I'll take this tile. Okay, so they'll put a tile here. Maybe they'll keep expanding that big lake. They'll keep doing that. Then it comes back to blue. Blue says, okay, well, I will take this. I'll get something for my park and, oh, something for my water. Then it comes to purple. Purple says, okay, well, I've got a big lake. I want those 2 water features. So they put those in their lake. Then it comes back to blue. Blue says, okay, well, you know what? I'll take this objective. I've already got a size 1 yellow. I'll do that. Purple says, okay, well, I can now take all the buildings. I will take this one. So they say I'll put a red building there and a blue and a green there. Then blue says, okay, well, I will have to take these ones, for instance. Let's say I'll do that. So they'll put a yellow one there and they'll put green there. And then it comes back to purple. Purple says, okay, well, let me see what other objective I can get. They get this objective. Then blue says, okay, well, I've already gone here twice. I've already gone here twice. I've already gone here twice. I have to take this. And they say, oh, that was poor planning on my part right now. I can't fit that anywhere. I just lose it. And then purple says, okay, well, thank you. I get to be the start player. And I draw 2 building tiles from the bag, 2 blues. So I'll do something like that. So you see, the round is over. And in a 2-player game, every spot is going to be fully taken. And each person has gone in each row twice. Okay, so there's nothing to discard because you're just going to get ready and set up for the next round. But you see that we've already added 2 tiles. So it's only going to be 3 more of those rounds to get the other 6 to get your 3x3 grid. So that's 2 players. It plays in half the time. And I mean, it's not necessarily more fun than the regular game, but it's maybe more tactical because you can take 2 things from the same round, or from the same area each round. So you may really be able to double down and get something before the other player can get what you want. Or what they want, rather. So, cool. So that's the differences from a 2-player game to the rest for a 3 or 4 player. Okay, so that was cities. Again, you can see the slight difference between a 2-player game versus a 3 or 4-player game. The 2-player game plays literally half the number of rounds, so it plays, in half the time. Well, not necessarily half the time because the turns would be a little bit longer. But you play just the 4 rounds instead of 8, and so there's a lot. It's almost more tactical. So depending on your preference. It does also say you can play there's a variant, I didn't cover it in the explanation video, but there's a variant in the rules. You can play an extended 2-player game where you play 7 rounds and you make a 3x5 city grid instead of just a 3x3. So that is another option if you want to play a little bit longer of a 2-player game. But as you can see, it's quick and it's fun. I mean, there's just 8 rounds and each round is you have to take one of those 4 things. So it's really easy to explain it to somebody and to pick up how to play because you can see what your options are. You don't have to think forever on what to do because you can only do, if I've already done that, I have to do one of these other 3 things. And so it's quick and it's got a lot of variability. Like there's right out of the box, I think there's those city tiles. I showed the New York objectives and the backside was the Rio de Janeiro. There's 3 other tiles. So there's 8 different cities that you could be playing with just out of the box. And there's even been some promotional extra cities. So that adds a good deal of variety to each game, just with what your big objectives are that you're trying to score points for. So between that and just the quick play, it's just slick and it's quick. The games don't last long and it's a lot of fun. So hopefully you've enjoyed the video. Hopefully it helps you learn how to play. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Thanks again for watching. Travis Monson, Once Upon a Board Game.